admitted himself, is a matter about which I take full responsibility and humbly offer my apologies to the country, sir, through you. Mr. Speaker, sir, I say that perhaps in a jocular way, but I sincerely believe that if ever I am to father a hard-headed child, I will call it Ralph. The honourable member, sir, refuses to divorce himself from what the French would call an embourgeoisified philosophy, a philosophy that looks at life through the lens of the bourgeoisie, the upper class, the wealthy, sir. You know, when you begin a speech of this nature and say that tourism in Barbados has always been about the West Coast and the South Coast, it tells you, sir, how you see the people who are operating the shops and the places of attraction inland Barbados, and have always operated these places of attraction inland Barbados. And yes, he caught himself as he went through and then tried to contradict himself mid-speech and make reference to the need to do things in the community, Mr. Speaker, sir. But the opening philosophical statement was that tourism in Barbados was West Coast, South Coast product. Now, sir, here's the issue for me. Philosophically, we have as a country eventually to come to terms with what it is that is buttering the bread in this island. And the Democratic Labour Party, represented as it now is the same Democratic Labour Party, a different person speaking, but the same philosophy that put this country in deep turmoil between 2008 and 2018. It's the same. As I listened to the honourable member, I could have been listening to his spokesman, his current spokesman on tourism, though these days you don't hear much about him because he doesn't have much to contradict or to find fault with in his subject matter, because of the excellent work that is being done by the honourable member for St. Michael West Central. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, what is the philosophical position of the Democratic Labour Party? It is the Democratic Labour Party, sir, that failed to recognize that we had to build out the same spatial balance, and that is the technical term you're searching for, the same spatial balance that you came to this house just now and started to go through the motion of lecturing us about. It is our administration that has had to build out that spatial balance. It is our administration that has had to make it possible for the same product that we're talking about to be felt across St. Joseph, to be felt, Mr. Deputy Speaker, across St. Thomas, across inland Barbados, because there was little or nothing done. I came to this Parliament, sir, and made reference as a young Minister of Tourism to the fact that there were hotels in Barbados. Hotels that had the same product authority having to pay visits to them and take pictures and bring in the fire service and bring in the public health officers and bring in a whole raft of Barbados' government social services and write letters to the owners of the hotel. And Mr. Speaker, sir, nothing was done. It was treated as though it could all be swept under the rug because that is a big hotelier and they're not to be touched. That is the Barbados that we inherited. And part of the difficulty, sir, is that we have this newly minted leader of an opposition, needing, of course, to be heard or seen to be heard, making what he would want to hope are credible points on behalf of not only the meager few that he managed to bring with him to Parliament today, because he brought 3 people from his camp, 3 followers, 3. They may be the only 3 who follow him faithfully, but he managed to bring them. And, sir, wanting to be heard outside of this Parliament as doing and saying something that is credible about the subject matter which he admits he knows very and understands very little about. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is necessary for Barbados to come to the point where we understand that you can't call tourism people getting off a cruise ship, for example, in Bridgetown, and taking a walk to a beach in Carlisle Bay, renting a chair, and spending the day lying down in the chair, walking in the sea, and in between maybe buy a few Banks beers, and that is the tourism product of the country. It is necessary to take those few thousand people that come off of a cruise ship and have them dispersed widely across this island, sampling a wide variety of options. A menu of options must be placed before these people every single day that they can therefore choose what it is I wish to participate in. Now, that should not be a matter of debate between us. That is where the Barbados Labour Party stands. And we will not be lectured by, I want not to say a Johnny-come-lately, sir, but I can't find another term in the English language at short notice. We will not be lectured on that because, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a fundamental way of operating as far as we're concerned. It is equally short-sighted for the honourable member to spend time on the question of Panama. This is why I got to start here, because God disabused the record and the minds of the people who may have listened, because I know, sir, that there will be some who'd listen. And I want to disabuse the minds of the people. No, sir, that it is a nonsense to talk an airline that started in 2018. I was on the inaugural flight that came to Barbados. At that time, it was once weekly. Today, Copa Airlines flies into Barbados at least 4 or 5 times a week. Mr. Speaker, I know it's 4 times a week. I know for a fact that discussions are on the way to increase the number, either to 5 or to 7. So, sir, it cannot be that Copa is seeing declining numbers, because there is no commercial entity that is going to look to escalate to the point of 4 a week and then go beyond that if it is that numbers were declining. So again, the Democratic Labour Party has to come away from the intense desire to win a government by propaganda only and to start to associate itself with substance. Now, why is it, sir, that I can stand here and I am tourism minister, but I am Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I know that the people of Panama are now using Barbados as a gateway in order to get to the United Kingdom. And I know this because Panama don't have the kind of direct flights that we have, and it is exceptionally difficult to go through Turkey in order to get to the UK. So therefore, sir, we are seeing Panamanians coming here and spending a night or 2 nights when they are then to connect on to the United Kingdom through Barbados. It is equally true to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that it was only in the month of August that the Panamanians established an embassy here in Bridgetown. Yes! And the Panamanians then established an embassy with providing consular services if it was that then the Panamanians coming through Barbados. What would the embassy be providing consular services for? But you see, this is the factual matrix that exists out there, but in the la-la land of George Street, where make believe and make it up as you go along is the way in which they do things. And that's why I apologize to the country, because I thought better of you then. And you continue to disappoint. The honourable member, sir, not you. The honourable member continues to disappoint profoundly, because there's no logic behind a whole government of Panama coming to Barbados, setting up an embassy in Barbados. They got one in Trinidad. They could do whatever they want to do through Trinidad. They come here, paying rent, set up embassy, paying staff here. Mr. Speaker, sir, why? They're the Panamanians, according to the leader of the opposition. None are coming here. The plane full of Barbadians going to shop and that's it. No, sir, I mean, and if that is what passes for fodder intellectually in George Street, then let's keep it there. Let us treat it as though it is unique to George Street, totally unexportable, and there it can remain. But you can't bring that to intelligent people in the Parliament of Barbados, sir, and ask for us to suffer through that. I mean, take this in remembrance of me. I am Ralph Thorne. Take this in remembrance of me. I can't do that. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, he then waffled on, calling Panama an experiment, and went on to the question of concessions. Now, anybody Anybody but a spokesman in Parliament of Barbados on behalf of the Democratic Labour Party should be heard to talk about concessions in tourism. Anybody but a spokesman on behalf of the Democratic Labour Party. I want to remind the honourable member that it was a year called 2013, and it was around and about the 5th of November, if memory serves me correctly, and it usually does, that a then finance minister would have come on behalf of the Democratic Labour Party to explain to the country a whole raft of concessions which were given to a hotel called Sandals. And that raft of concessions given to the hotel called Sandals, Mr. Speaker, sir, I go through it slowly because I want to refresh the memory of the Leader of the Opposition. He went there, not me, 25 years exempt from import duties, the hotel. Now, there was no other hotel in Barbados. And Barbados at the time had 6,000 hotel rooms. There was no other hotel in Barbados that was getting 25 years or anywhere near that exempt from import duties for anything that the hotel needed. That's the Democratic Labour Party. And they come now, 10 years later, to lecture us about concessions. And Mr. Speaker, sir, taxes exempt from any form of tax, including value-added tax. Yes, it is right. Every form of tax, including value-added tax, exempt from levies of every nature. And Mr. Speaker, sir, if you thought that that was bad, at the end of 25 years, wait for it, at the end of 25 years, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the same hotel is entitled to get one half of the applicable rates at the end of 25 years for another 15 years. That was the gift by the Democratic Labour Party, the gift by the institution that he left us to go and embrace and hold up to the country. That was the gift that he left us to go and lead. That was the gift, Mr. Speaker, sir, that was given to a large hotel. And now here the show, we are being lectured about an alleged preference towards large hotels. But there's nothing in the history that reeks, that smells to high heavens, like that which I'm referring to, Mr. Speaker, sir, done by the Democratic Labour Party, led by Ralph Thorne today. The honourable member, sorry, I can't call his name. The honourable member for St. He's not St. John. He is not associated with so many places, sir. Christchurch South. Christchurch South. The honourable member with no fixed place of abode. Political abode, that is, sir. Political abode. The honourable member with no fixed place of
order,
political
please.
abode.
Order, please.
No, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker,
order,
sir.
please. Thank you.
The honourable
order,
member,
please.
The honourable member, no, because he likes to come in here and share licks, you know, but he's very thin-skinned. And the slightest thing rattles him. He will not sleep tonight. He is my neighbor, the dog. My dog will be barking because he'll be walking up and down the street vexed, flinging off his hand, talking to himself, wandering. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, I go back to the subject matter because the honourable member offends the ears of the listener when he speaks about these things. I mean, you know, sir, again, he makes it seem as though this administration does nothing or did nothing for small entities in tourism. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, the honourable member sat in Parliament when budgets in this Parliament for every budget that has been given under this administration. I expect, therefore, that he was in here paying attention and not asleep. I expect, Mr. Speaker, sir, that even if he did not know, his research team should be able to enlighten him that almost every single year for the past 7 years, the Honourable Prime Minister of Barbados and Minister of Finance has raised the threshold for land taxes in Barbados. And that when we are talking about these Airbnbs, in many instances we are talking about somebody's private property on which they are entitled or expected to pay land tax. And Mr. Speaker, sir, if it is that the land tax threshold is raised, then, sir, it is that they are getting, in fact, the concessionary benefit. Because you are charging a rent for a property, you've got people living in the property, but the government tells you, pay less land tax. Pay less land tax. We came into government and land tax rates were at $150,000 to start with. That was the entry threshold. It is all up around $450,000 today, Mr. Speaker, sir. What madness am I hearing? Or is it simply that there is a level of financial illiteracy attached to this debate through the lips of the honourable member? And Mr. Speaker, sir, above and beyond that, it was only in the last budget before this House that the finance minister, not the prime minister because it was the budget presented by the honourable member for St. Michael, Christchurch, East Central. He came here, sir, and he zero rated for real estate was zero, property tax on real estate was zero rated as long as it was under 1 acre property. Property transfer tax was zero rated for all properties less than 1 acre if it is that a father or mother was transferring that property to his or her child. So as to ensure that at that community level that we hear so much old talk about in here today, the substance which the honourable member likes to say he's interested in, but apparently paid no attention to, the substance is that it is this government that not only recognizes the importance of assisting that level of the society and economy, but ensuring that there is intergenerational wealth. You make it easier, simple deed of gift. You don't got to pay a lawyer a big lot of money for the transaction, and the property transfer tax is zero rated. I could have an Airbnb that is worth $500,000, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I could give it to my son or daughter by way of a deed of gift. And property transfer tax is not part of the deal. Mr. Speaker, sir, what are we talking about when we are then lectured about concessions? Is that not a concession, Mr. Speaker? And if it is not, and if that doesn't satisfy the appetite of the honourable member, whose government, incidentally, when they had the opportunity, did nothing in this sector, because, sir, this sector was given birth to by a Barbados Labour Party administration led by Owen Arthur back in 2005 as we led up to the Cricket World Cup 2007. Let's not forget that. But if it is that then they came into office and did nothing, Mr. Speaker, sir, what else have we done in the absence of their performance? Because it is all, you know, loose lips is what the politics of today is. And that is why I fear for the honourable member in his trek to a new constituency. Because it is a constituency that has grown accustomed to people of substance. Substance. No, you don't want me to say, remind people that you ran from Christchurch South, that you run up in St. John. You don't want me to say that. I am going to say that until it sticks in your craw, because you came here and said that you had a vision. You are like Dr. Martin Luther King. I have a dream, you said. I didn't say it for you. You stood up in here and said, I have a dream. Your dream was to do this with the fishermen in Christchurch South and Oistins. And what did you do? You abandoned them. You didn't even have a meeting with one of them. You have not turned your back. You came to the Nation newspaper and you pledged that if you were ever to leave Christchurch South, you will hold a meeting first and talk with the people. Next thing, we went to hear in the same Nation newspaper that you are running in St. John without a nomination. You did not even have a nomination. Foisted your offensive self on the Democratic Labour Party and its branch in St. John. I know you don't want me to talk. No, Mr. Speaker, sir. Corporation tax from profits derived by mortgages. Each of these, not each, because I would imagine that everybody is not incorporated, but a wise operator of an Airbnb or whatever platform they're on, Verbo or whoever, will incorporate, because you don't want the liability to be at you personally. A company will shield you from the personal liability. But you're deriving a profit. What has this government said? In the very last budget, the last budget done in here, and the honourable member was here because he came here with about 24 notebooks that he read on board the House, a night of tedium. 8 hours on his feet, dribbling, wasting time. 10 hours, however long it was. But the point is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that is in that budget that it was made clear that corporation taxes from profits derived by mortgages valued over $250,000. So that means, therefore, that the house, the Airbnb that people come in to live in, it'll be $250,000 worth or more, will be reduced. The mortgage will be reduced, sir. Sorry, the corporation tax will be reduced to 9%. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, that's in the last budget. And that is a direct concession to the same sector and the same class of people operating within the sector that the honourable member talks about and says, well, we need to have concessions. Now, it tells me, sir, that there was no preparation that went into this speech. Honourable members would see me coming here today. I had no intention of getting into this. This is just simple common knowledge from sitting in Parliament that I am aware of what happened, and I could get up at a moment's notice and respond to a leader of the opposition who has 3 or 4 people in here that came to help him. And Mr. Speaker, sir, there's clearly a deficit of understanding in the Democratic Labour Party on these. I am not start to quarrel yet. You relax yourself. The day I quarrel about the Democratic Labour Party will come. That day will come. You gotta wait a little time though. I know you're in a hurry, but it's at least a year or so you gotta wait before that time comes. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are at then the other intervention, the other point that he spent a lot of time on was Christchurch South's organic experience. He didn't say it so elegantly, but the Oystins Fish Market area. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, you know, the honourable member's midday words do not match his morning words. And his morning and midday words do not match his evening words. Because it is the records of this House that reflect that when this government offered to and then followed up on the offer by making an investment of $5 million to develop Oystins, the honourable member for Christchurch South, he who has now abandoned Christchurch South to go to St. John, stood in his place and made it clear he did not want any money spent in Oystins. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Deputy Speaker, do you not recall that? Do you not recall that, sir? That is a part of the records of this House. The honourable member, sir, now comes in here today, a few months later, to say that the Barinda Cox market needs to have improvements and that a caring government would invest some money in the Barinda Cox market to ensure that ordinary people, and this is the kind of this is just vomiting out words that are not aligned to any philosophical commitment to anything. But the same people in the Barinda Cox market today were there 5 months ago when the honourable member was saying he didn't want any money spent. I remember standing in this place after the honourable member for Christchurch West lambasted him in here. And I said, if I could get $5 million spent in my constituency, I'd be the happiest body. And he had the offer of $5 million to spend. It was spent. And the honourable member said he didn't want a cent of it being spent. Now, if that is the standard by which we are to operate, sir, then let us say so. But I want the country now to reflect upon the manner of man. What manner of man is this? Who is capable of saying in September that that we should be spending money in Barinda Cox market and need developing. But in January, February, I don't want a cent spent on there. That is money to buy votes. I don't want the money spent out there. They want to put me out. Mr. Speaker, it is beneath us. It is beneath this House. And worst of all, sir, it is beneath the office that the honourable member now holds. He is not in here as a newcomer backbencher. He has served in this place now, sir, for 7 years, and he is sitting in the chair of the Leader of the Opposition. So let us then go now, sir, to what the honourable member did not talk about. And but you didn't talk about the legislation. All that I've talked about is what you talked about. Why are you quarreling with me? I am only responding to what you talked about. So if I am not talking about the legislation, it means you didn't talk about it neither, Star. I don't trouble you, you know. I don't trouble you. But I will talk about the legislation and the context of what the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central said, because he was very right when he made the point that key to this, sir, is an effort by the government to raise the standards of product being offered in Barbados. And if we are serious as a country, we have to recognize that it's not only here. We have to come to the point, Mr. Speaker, sir, where we have a standards economy. That in everything we do, there must be a set of standards applied to it. Ideally, Mr. Speaker, sir, there should be standards in commerce which enable us, irrespective of whether you are the lowly hairdresser, cosmetologist, or the very upper class contractor doing multi-million-dollar projects, or the hoteliers, sir, doing those things that they do at world-class standards. And why? Because it is only through doing it at world-class standards, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are able then to lift our experience together, we lift our business acumen together, and then we are in a position, sir, to move the services that we provide outside of Barbados and into the wider region, and hopefully, by extension, into the wider world. That is how the foreign exchange is earned. If you are to earn the foreign exchange, sir, by way of services, you have to do so at a level that allows other countries not to stand in the way of you entering their market or competing successfully in the market by raising standards issues against you. In other words, the Honourable Member doesn't tell anybody, but he goes very often into the wider Caribbean and practice the law. He don't tell anybody that because he likes to he masquerades as though he's a poor parish lawyer. But he goes, sir, and works for large amounts of money in other parts of the Caribbean. Mr. Speaker, sir, he has to do that which he does at a level that does not allow for those people to say he is unfit to practice in that part of the Caribbean where he is going. I know that this agitates him because he tells the people in the Democratic Labour Party that he has no money to put in. You know, David Thompson used to put money back in the party. Erbar put money back in the party. But he does not do that. He has come to take out of the party, not give into the party. So Mr. Speaker, sir, the reality is that the legislation is pushing our service providers at this level in the direction of recognizing some fundamentals like consumer experiences and the value that must be placed on the consumer experiences, the fact that there has to be supporting infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, sir. And may I say that the Barbados Tourism Product Authority has a very critical role to play in all of this. Now again, the unspoken treasure that is the Tourism Product Authority, right, is that is a group of people who the same service providers can rely on to come to them and tell them, look, this is what you need to do in order to make money. This is what you need to do to provide your service better. And that happens, that there are folks in that Tourism Product Authority who make it their business to go and do the inspections, who sit and work with the people who are providing the services so as to enable them to better navigate the standards that they're expected to navigate in order to be able to deliver appropriately. Now, you don't hear that when the Democratic Labour Party talks, but that is a fact. That is a fact, sir. But why is it that he wants me to quarrel with him, sir? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And every time he interrupts me, he causes me to remember.
Please, 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 please.
Every time he interrupts me, he causes me to remember, sir, that part of the advantage of this legislation is also about the democratization, better delivering on the democratization of our economy. Now, sir, if in my neighborhood I can have 5 or 6 people that are saying my house or part of my house is on the Airbnb platform or whatever the other platforms are, that same thing. Shared economy, that's the correct way of treating to it. It's called a shared economy platform. If my house or somebody else's house in the neighborhood is on, it means that we are now players in the tourism industry. It means now that we are not just living in a house or owning a house, but that house is generating wealth. And if the government, through the Barbados Tourism Product Authority, is now working with those property owners in order to make sure that they can do that which they do better, and that they can raise their game to a certain standard, that the customer review, when you have come and you've experienced and you go online and you say, this is my review, and your review is as positive can be, that brings in more business to you. It means that the government, not only through taxation, but the government through the actual work of the Tourism Product Authority is empowering Barbadians to be able now to generate more wealth, not only as property owners, but as business operators. And as property owners and business operators, we said by way of the legislation that we came to Parliament and dealt with in the budget, or the initiative we came to Parliament and dealt with in the budget, you got a business, you got a property. Now is the time to make sure that you can, with ease, transfer that successful business in that property to your children, thereby creating intergenerational wealth. And Mr. Speaker, sir, that is the magic of it. No, that is not something that you just sit down and do so. That had to be carefully crafted as a series of policy steps in order to bring us to this point. Now, in contrast, Mr. Speaker, sir, we hear a Democratic Labour Party that is just waffling, rambling, picking at every loose thread that they believe they find. But what is the philosophy of the Democratic Labour Party on this? Have you heard it? Nobody who listens to the Honourable Member has heard it. What is the thinking of the Democratic Labour Party on this sector, other than to say, you got to give concessions? Well, sir, clearly I've indicated by way of the finance policy initiatives that we've done successively over the years that the concessions have in fact been given. And then I hear some rambling nonsense about how a rum shop, Mr. Speaker, sir, is to be entitled to tourism concessions. Now, it tells me that the Honourable Member, King's Counsel that he is, the Honourable Member, sir, has clearly not taken the time even to read the legislation or the suite of legislation associated with these matters. You can only benefit from concessions in tourism, sir, if the majority of the money that you're making is as a direct result of tourism offerings. So you have to be showing that the surpluses, the real money that you're making coming from tourists. Which rum shop in Barbados, sir, primarily makes its earnings off of tourists? The rum shop, sir, is an ordinary commercial business which tourists go to. It is like, if we did that, we would then have to open the gates, sir. Every supermarket would be saying, well, we are a tourism business, so we gotta be entitled to concessions. Mr. Speaker, sir, every gas station that got a little sales thing inside of it will be saying, well, we got tourists pass through here, so we entitled to tourism concessions. And it is that bankruptcy of intellect, that lawless, naked, lazy, almost simple, stupid way of approaching national development, sir, that is the difficulty that comes out of George Street. You don't want me to say these things, but
Honourable
I have to call it as I
so
see it, Mr. Speaker, sir. Don't stop him from heckling me, sir. Don't stop him from heckling me. He does that because he gets agitated that somebody pulls away the fig leaf and exposes the nakedness of his intellectual stamina. But the point is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that it is true. If he is going to argue in this place that you are entitled to tourism concession because you're running a rum shop, then, sir, clearly every supermarket will go get. Every wholesale and retail will go get. In fact, the whole country could as well be given tourism concessions. And is that now to pass as economic policy in this country? And I ask those people who make it the business to put on powder and makeup and a good suit, a lovely suit, to come in here behind him, sir. Reflect as you go back down the stairs on how he has failed you, on how he has brought you here to let you down and embarrass you. And then, Mr. Speaker, sir, not you, sir, the Honourable Member, and then, sir, perhaps even you most faithful few will want to turn your back away from him too. No, Mr. Speaker, sir. Last but by no means least, we need to spend a little time on this question of property ownership as a step to wealth creation. Because that, sir, is a kernel that does not only run through the tourism sector, it has to run through the entirety of commerce in Barbados. We have to have a culture in this country where our people are encouraged to save, access property, maintain property, develop the property, and use property as a means either directly, as happens with this accommodation sector, where people just allow people to come and live, allow others to come and live, and they pay rent, etc., and that gives them income. Or you use the property and the equity in the property to leverage an opportunity to make other investments. In the by-election in St. James North, Mr. Speaker, sir, I met a few young people. Most of them would have been females between 20 and 30. And I am very pleased that, one doing cosmetology, another doing screen printing with T-shirts, another doing hairdressing. And in each of the cases, Mr. Speaker, so you know what they wanted to engage on? How best they can either acquire or leverage property that they had already acquired in order to help them advance their business. This, sir, is a critical component of economic development in the country. The legislation is crafted in such a way as to incentivize our property owners to raise their game and to deliver at a higher standard. But it is also against a philosophical backdrop that we as Black Barbadian people in particular, must also use the opportunity that is presented to us by way of property ownership as a stepping stone towards wealth creation, and then, sir, intergenerational wealth. And as I said before, if the honourable member paid the least bit of attention to what was happening in these budgets, he would have heard, it's only the last budget, Mr. Speaker, sir, I carry far back. In February, or when it was March this year, that we stood in here and we said that where you have a property that is, you have a company, and that company owns a property, and if the property is under a mortgage, then that mortgage is going to be reduced, because if it is that the company can demonstrate that there is a profit being derived from that property, we ain't standing in the way of your building a profit. We will incentivize you by reducing the property tax so as to ensure that you can get an even better deal. That is where this government has been going. That is the way in which this government has been working with that sector of the society and economy, Mr. Speaker, sir. And it is a tragedy. He don't want me to say that either. But I don't know what you want me to call it. I know you feel that here's a place for buffoonery, but it is not. There are people who are struggling out there, Honourable Member for Christchurch South. There are people out there, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, who place trust in the Honourable Member for Christchurch South, went and put an X next to him, next to his name, in the hope that he would at some stage show maturity expected of a man with grey hair. And he comes in here, sir, to make sport at the fact that the human struggle in an effort to use the little bit of land that you get access to. You build something on it. You want to leverage it now for business purposes. And what do we get from an opposition? That they come to make sport at the effort rather than to understand the policy of the government. Now, Mr. Speaker, so if he wanted to engage with us sensibly, he could tell me, well, why is it that you only cut the mortgage to 9% as opposed to 5%? And give me a reason why it should be at 5%. If he wanted to engage sensibly, he would say, well, why it is that the policy is only limited to those people who are incorporated. Why it can't be that people show, even though they're not incorporated, that I got a business running from in the house, and the business making a profit, I got business records, but I don't have an incorporation because I didn't go to the stage of a company. If you wanted to make sense, that is where you would engage with the government. But you come with this rancid simplicity, as though it was something that you only come here to make sport about, when really and truly it is only through intellectual stamina and commitment that we are able to ensure that we have crafted the best possible policies to advance the people of Barbados. No, sir,
Honourable Member for Christchurch South.
I'm convinced he can't help himself, sir. There's a level of juvenile behavior. I said today at the lunch table when I sat with him, sir, that I honestly don't expect that for much longer we will see him in public life. Not because he'd be beaten. I don't think he's going to go as far as to contest an election. I think the honourable member has made some sport. He has sat in the chair of leader of the opposition, got his name in the history book. He probably has earned a little income additionally that he could relax on. This is his cushion of comfort. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't think that there's
on
any
the subject
sincerity.
matter, please.
I beg your pardon, sir?
Stay on the subject.
Oh, yeah, beg your pardon, sir. Sorry. The subject, sir, of the legislation and not the honourable member. Yes, sir, I agree. You're trying to tell me very politely, sir, don't waste time talking about the honourable member. And I'm glad for the guidance.
I'm trying to stop you from interrupting.
I'm very glad for the guidance.
While you wrap up.
No. No, Mr. Speaker, sir. The other aspect of this, and perhaps this is really the final aspect of the importance of this legislation. We are competing internationally. There are a number of people out there, in fact, across not only across Barbados, sir, but across this region, who are dealing with this matter of a shared economy, a shared economy platform. There are a number of people, sir, who are interested in doing this type of business. We are not alone.
Give me a minute. Honourable Member for Christchurch South, you had little to no interference when you were speaking. I would like you to do the same, please. Thank you.
There are a number of countries around...
Point of order, sir. I accept the guidance of the chair, and on a point of order, under the rules, to ask the member to remain relevant, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, may I continue?
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir.
I remain on the subject matter as well, sir.
Certainly, sir, certainly. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, there are a number of countries around the world which are seeing its citizens engaged in the same type of economic activity that we're now talking about. And those countries obviously are competing with us, and those people are competing with us. It is important, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we ensure that, first of all, the owners and operators of these platforms do not find in Barbados and in the Barbados business person in this sector a set of people who are failing to reach certain standards or failing to own and operate their business in a manner that is consistent with the standard of the companies that own and operate these platforms. It is equally important, sir, that our people, if they are to be a successful part of the tourism product, be sensitive to the larger tourism product effort, which is seeing that the Minister of Tourism and his team are trying to promote and project Barbados' image and business in Barbados in a certain way and at a certain level, and that they conform to that particular standard of operation. Unless that synergy is met, sir, we will have problems. There have been countries, sir, in fact, let's not even go to countries, there have been businesses doing this type of thing, which have been exceptionally creative. They have looked at certain segments of the market, for example, persons with disabilities, and they construct homes or accommodation facilities in such a way as to make it as easy as possible for persons with disabilities to come and to reside there in comfort. There are people, sir, who do that for persons not only with disabilities, but persons with who are elderly. And therefore, sir, again, there are structures put in place and mechanisms where you facilitate the elderly in getting to the accommodation and even, sir, moving around after they leave the accommodation. That is the level at which this type of operation is being conducted internationally. It is important, therefore, sir, that as we have this type of debate, we see it not only as a profit-making opportunity for somebody that got a couple extra rooms or got an extra house or got a piece of property that they ain't doing nothing with yet, so let me just put it in Airbnb and see some money come in. There has to be a little bit more to it than that, that lends structure to the enterprise and also to the product offering that we call Barbados. I recognize that the time is virtually up, sir, so I will not press the issue. I am obliged to you.
Honourable Member for St. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I rise to just for a few moments share some perspectives with the Honourable House. I begin by stating that I am very, very pleased with this tourism accommodation bill, the legislation, and I'll explain briefly why I am. Just looking at some specific components of the bill, which will hopefully soon become actual legislation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think it is important to go back a little bit before we speak to where we are. Tourism accommodation has come quite a long way. From the days of, I think it used to be called the Royal Navy Hotel, that was not the original name, but Rachel Pringle's property in Canary Lane. We had the development after that. That was the late 1700s. After that, we had the railway, which went from Bridgetown to Belplain. And that allowed for the starting of the crane. It also allowed for the establishing of the Atlantis Hotel. Accommodation, Mr. Deputy Speaker, at a time long before what we refer to as the modern era. It is also important to recognize that in the modern era, along with the development of accommodation over the years, and we could probably say over the centuries, with the modern era, the development of tourism legislation is one that this Barbados Labour Party in government has a very proud track record on. I'm referring to this Barbados Labour Party, the party of which the Honourable Member for Christchurch South was part of for quite a considerable time in his political career. So he knows. I hear the member for St. James Central saying that he doesn't read. I do not believe that. I think he comes to make mischief. I think he is more intelligent than he looks, more intelligent than he sounds. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have in 1956, under Sir Grantley Adams, the Hotel Aids Act, a piece of legislation almost in advance of its time, a piece of legislation that took us right through to 2002, a piece of legislation that was so well crafted for its time that it was able to last decades and still be relevant. Then we had 2002, the Barbados Labour Party in government, and we had another advanced piece of legislation, the Tourism Development Act. And that Tourism Development Act, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is still the legislation that we use 23 years later with some amendments. There was a relatively significant amendment in 2014. But substantively, the tourism industry is still governed by that 2002 Tourism Development Act. And now we come to 2025. And this Barbados Labour Party, again, under the leadership in tourism of the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, another piece of forward-looking, realistic legislation that will help to take the tourism industry forward. And Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I believe that it ought to be recognized by Barbadians that it is this Barbados Labour Party in office that sees the importance of the industry, that recognizes the importance of the industry, that recognizes the need to upgrade and update the legislation that governs how we manage the industry. Now, we talk about branding, and I think sometimes we see branding maybe in a more modern, but often more superficial context. Branding in 2025 does not often go as deep into what a thing really is, but it speaks very often, and in my view, maybe too often, to what a thing looks like, how it is perceived, but superficially. I contend, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that in an industry like tourism, an industry that is internationally competitive, an industry where one has, while sitting in Barbados, compete against a hotel, we're talking about accommodation, in the Maldives, has to compete against a hotel in the tropical Western Pacific, has to compete intra-regionally with a hotel in Turks and Caicos, in order to be able to maintain a stake in the industry, in order to be able to maintain some level of market share. The matter of branding has to be taken maybe even more seriously than we actually do take it, and I believe that we take it very, very seriously. Now, I speak to taking it seriously or even more seriously because visitors are ordinarily very discerning. When a person has to spend money, particularly when a person has to spend what they consider a lot of money, their examination of the product is more intense. That is just a fact of life. It happens with all of us. We examine much more carefully that which we spend more resources on. And so we know that those who come to our country are discerning, and they will pick up, they will unearth all of those things that we may not see, but things that serve to diminish what we have said the name Barbados represents. And so the stipulations, if we term them as such, if we look at the stipulations with regard to the areas covered by this bill, we recognize that the ministry and the government of this country is intent on safeguarding the brand, is intent on safeguarding the integrity of that story which we share internationally when we say to people, come to our country, come to Barbados because you are coming to a place of high value. You are coming to a place where what we share with you is what we share with you by way of advertising is what you actually get when you get to the country. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is very easy to lose brand integrity. And I heard earlier a mention about money spent on product versus money spent on advertising. I always remember the words of a former president or CEO of the Barbados Tourism Authority, as it was then called. And he said to a group of us, well, to the board of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, nothing kills bad product like good advertising. I've never forgotten that. Because what it said to me and the truth that it revealed to all of us was that you can do all the advertising in the world. If your product is not good, then your industry or industry will collapse. And it is important then, as this bill seeks to do and will do when it becomes law, it is imperative that inspections take place, that those who sell, and Mr. Speaker, we must be very clear, those who sell vacations at their properties are selling Barbados. That is important. No individual owner or operator of an accommodation business in tourism, in the tourism industry, is selling only their place of business. In international tourism, once you are out there internationally in the market, you are also selling the country. The country, therefore, has a responsibility. The country has a responsibility to the 200 and how many ever thousand persons living on this rock, to make sure that no individual in pursuit of their own gain, in pursuit of legitimate business interests, does harm to the brand and the name of this country. And so the matter of holding those who operate accommodation, those who have businesses selling rooms to visitors who come to this country, or those visitors who are from this country who choose to go on staycations. The matter of holding all of these accommodation businesses to certain standards is very important. And I want to say that there is nothing in this legislation that would suggest that everybody has to operate at a 5-star level. The legislation speaks to particular standards being set by the minister. But Barbados has always sold its industry as a high-standard industry. And so if you are operating a 3-star accommodation product, then the country, not just the government, but the country expects that this accommodation is the best 3-star anywhere in the Caribbean, or maybe anywhere in the world. If you are selling a 4-star product, then it is expected that your 4-star product is comparable to any other 4-star product, any other good 4-star product anywhere in the world. And so I just want to be clear, because in my own experience, I have heard, and I think I heard this around 2001, 2002, there is the feeling sometimes by accommodation providers that a government expects that everybody will be at 5-star, or even beyond 5-star, 5 diamond, which is reputed to be a little bit above 5-star. This legislation does not ask an Airbnb or any other accommodation to be at a 5-star, or what is commonly referred to as a 5-star level. And so it is to be understood that however you are selling yourself, however you are selling your product, then you have to be the best at that level. You have to be offering on behalf of the country, not just on behalf of your own business, but on behalf of the country. You have to be offering excellence in an internationally competitive marketplace. The importance of this industry, I believe, cannot be understated. The Honourable Member for St. Michael's South West Central spoke, and he didn't use this word, I don't remember the word, but I use a word that I've heard used, which means the same thing. There is a view out there that the industry is a fickle one. I've heard that term used very, very many times. yes, well, fragile was the term you used, but I've heard fickle. That speaks to the fact that the industry reacts to international events, international developments. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, I posit that the tourism industry is much more resilient than it is thought to be. There have been many, many disasters. There's now been a significant pandemic in our immediate past. Whether it was the bombing in Bali, whether it was the tsunami, whether it was 9/11, whether it was the pandemic, all of those events took place. All of those tragic events took place. And I will say to you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that the tourism industry has at every time bounced back. It is much more resilient than fairy tale makes it out to be. I also posit that it remains an important industry for this country. Now, I'm going to be careful in what I say next because there are mischievous people around. I don't mean around in the chamber, but outside maybe listening. This industry is able, and I'm saying this as a minister responsible for labor, it is, however, a view that I've held for many decades. This industry is able to employ persons with PhDs. It is able to employ persons with 0 CXCs. It is an industry that is able to accommodate workers at every level of academic achievement, at every skill level. Persons who, regardless of skill level, regardless of academic achievement, can rise to the highest levels in the industry. The Honourable Member for St. Michael, West Central, and I have worked with some of those persons with limited O-level or CXC or CSET qualifications who have become excellent general managers for international chains. This industry is important not just for the economy of the country, but it is also important for the people development component that it carries within it. It allows people who may not have the kind of certification that banking requires, or the engineering skills that renewable energy requires, or back in the days when it was in the audit firms, that what we used to call the offshore sector, international banking, international insurance, captive insurance. You may not have that level of educational attainment, but you are able to do well, you are able to grow in this tourism industry once a person applies themselves. And so, Mr. Speaker, I heard the Honourable Member for St. James Central, speaking to the 5 million and speaking to Oystins. I, like him, was begging for some of the money. I wanted it put in Spikestown. It didn't happen. I do not know why you would force feed anybody, but the money was spent in Oystins nonetheless. But I will say to you that St. Peter and Spikestown, and I know the Honourable Member for Christchurch South would be happy when I say St. Peter and Spikestown. But I would say to this chamber, to the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, that St. Peter and Spikestown has benefited greatly from tourism over the years. And I will share that the people of my constituency are looking forward to be participant and the beneficiaries of the existing construction that is going on in the industry. That is to say, the Pendry at the Retreat Six Men's border and the pending development of the Sandals property, which is to be branded as beaches at the old, well, in Haywoods, the site of the original Haywoods Hotel. And that is because we recognize that the industry is important. And we recognize that product generally is important to the industry. We also recognize in the north of the island that the accommodation, that place where people sleep, where they wake up, and where they often have breakfast, that place is important in the decision-making of our visitors. And so they join me in wanting to make sure that our tourism accommodation remains of a high standard. And that is something that we are ad idem on, we are together on, we share the same view on, and we are happy that this bill addresses the matter.
You have 5 more minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The bill at Section 10 speaks to staff, and I'm happy that it emphasizes and actually makes mandatory the training of members of staff. It is not kosher, it is not acceptable that we just encourage the hiring of workers. There must be an effort made to make sure that those who are hired to work benefit from training that will allow the business to be profitable, but that will also maintain the standard of the tourism establishment, the accommodation establishment. And so I am pleased that the matter of training is included as an important part of this bill. There is also the matter at Section 18, which we really cannot downplay. The matter of pets and the fact that staff must be protected from pets, the pets of guests. Now, one of the things that pleases me about the bill is that in a number of places when it speaks to those persons that it is addressing, it places staff, it lists, let me put it that way, it lists staff before it lists visitors. That, Mr. Speaker, speaks to me about a growing recognition in the industry that it is really the people who work, who give the service, who are the key persons in this industrial setup. They are the key people. And we know the phrase that if your staff are happy, then your guests will be happy. They will feel it. And so we have to commend the ministry, those who worked in the ministry, and those who drafted for that recognition. And I also speak finally to the matter of universal access. The Act places a responsibility on those operators of businesses to make sure that over time there is accessibility, the matter of accessibility is addressed. The bill also recognizes quite wisely that it may not be possible to make the accommodation. And I say that, Mr. Speaker, having some level of experience in this matter, working with the National Council, the Council for the Disabled, and attempting, and this was when there was the program Fully Accessible Barbados, trying to make the hotel that I ran accessible. It was not possible. We were focusing at that time on wheelchair accessibility. It was possible in the restaurant, it was possible in the public areas. It was not possible in the rooms because a lot of the hotel plant is original housing that is remodeled and rebuilt and rejigged. If the owner had not purchased an adjoining property, we would not have been able, which we eventually were able to do, build a new block. And so the fact that the bill recognizes that while it imposes a certain responsibility, it leaves open the fact that if, in the minister's discretion, there is not the possibility for that accommodation to be made, then the operator or the owner is not penalized. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this piece of legislation is a good piece of legislation. It is a needed piece of legislation. This does not speak to no experimentation. Experimentation took place under the Democratic Labour Party when they sought to bring GAL, the airline from Brazil, into Barbados. No work done around the gateways, no work done in terms of language, no work done on anything. And so after June 2010, very shortly after that, that flight stopped. Experimentation happens under the Democratic Labour Party in government, not under the Barbados Labour Party, and I would wish that we wouldn't get confused about that. This Barbados Labour Party is about developing a critical industry. It is about developing an important industry. And I think I have shared enough to allow you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and those who may hear or may be following, that developing this industry takes thought, it takes foresight, and I'm happy to be part of the party in government that over the decades has applied its mind to the industry and has crafted legislation to suit the times, has recognized the evolution of the industry, has recognized when we need to change, when we need to up our game, and has not been afraid to come to this chamber to do just that. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, I commend this tourism accommodation bill to this House. I commend it to this country. I commend it to the industry. And I am sure that it will do our country, it will do our economy, it will do our people very well. I'm obliged to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that we do suspend this sit-in for 10 minutes to 20 minutes past 4 o'clock. 25 minutes past 4 o'clock, sorry.
The question is that this House break for 10 minutes until 25 minutes past 4. All those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it. We now break until 4:25 p.m.